The league office is reportedly trying to keep the footage buried, but the story is already spreading. Shaquille O'Neal allegedly confronted Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on his way to the locker room after a recent game against the Lakers, and the situation nearly became a disaster. But if that sounds wild, wait until you hear how it all began. If you think the Lakers losing 108-131 against OKC was just another regular game, you are completely wrong. According to alleged insider and eyewitness reports, what happened about 15 minutes after the buzzer was one of the wildest incidents the league has seen in a long time. This was not simply players exchanging trash talk after the game. Security reportedly had to step in because Shaq was furious, and it all started after he became fed up with OKC's antics. After the game, the Thunder were celebrating their 30-point lead while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander headed toward the locker room, probably thinking about what designer outfit he would wear to the next press conference. Then everything suddenly stopped. Shaq was reportedly standing in the middle of the tunnel with his arms crossed, blocking the path to the OKC locker room. According to the leaked reports, everyone who saw his expression immediately realized that things were about to get serious. Thunder security, mostly normal-sized guys, were suddenly faced with the problem of moving a 7'1" mountain who clearly was not in the mood for jokes. Shaq said nothing to the guards. He simply waited for Shai to approach, and everything went from 0 to 100 in seconds. When they finally stood face to face, Shaq did not even raise his voice. He leaned down, stepped into Shai's personal space, and delivered a brutally cold message. He looked Shai directly in the eyes and said, "It's disappointing. You're too good to be a cheat, kid." When you think about it, that statement was unbelievable. Shaq had essentially called the MVP frontrunner a fraud directly to his face. And according to people who witnessed it, Shai did not even flinch. Instead, he reportedly smiled arrogantly and responded with one of the most disrespectful lines imaginable: "The game passed you by, big man. Adapt or go back to the desk." That was reportedly the moment Shaq completely lost his temper. His jaw tightened so hard that people thought he was about to charge at Shai. Shaq reportedly moved toward him, forcing the OKC coach to step between them. It took 4 huge security guards and the coach pushing with everything they had to create some distance. Even while Shai was being pulled away, Shaq continued shouting about disrespect toward the game and how the league had become a glorified theater production where stars were acting more like performers than athletes. And that is exactly what reportedly made him angry in the first place. Shaq certainly is not the only person who has criticized OKC's style. Lou Dort, for example, plays with a physicality that has drawn plenty of criticism, while Shai has faced constant accusations of foul baiting and flopping. But before getting into all of that, the confrontation apparently became even stranger. According to an usher nearby, Shaq refused to leave even after the Thunder players were gone. He reportedly stayed in the tunnel for another 20 to 30 minutes, still furious and waiting for the referees to pass by. When they finally arrived, Shaq reportedly said nothing. He simply stared them down, and the atmosphere became extremely tense. That raises the bigger question: why would the NBA want this story kept quiet? According to the alleged insiders, the league could be considering a massive fine, potentially reaching 6 figures, or even a stadium ban for Shaq. The theory is that the league knows the story could create another controversy over whether OKC is being protected. But as intense as this tunnel confrontation was, the final score was not what bothered Shaq most. His real frustration was with the way Shai was getting his points. That is what apparently pushed him over the edge. Some people may see Shaq as nothing more than a bitter former player, but his argument is that he was watching an elite talent rely heavily on foul calls. Shai is widely considered one of the top players in the world, which is exactly why Shaq finds the foul-baiting criticism so frustrating. If you want to see the moment that reportedly pushed the Diesel over the edge, check out the video that has been trending on Twitter.
Together, he had his struggles last year, but there was a turn SGA on him. Now you got to send help. And passive by Reeves.
This was not simply some random hater edit. It was a 14-play breakdown focused entirely on Shai's alleged foul baiting. In nearly every clip, Shai appears to do whatever he can to make the contact look like a clear foul so he can earn free throws. At times, he seems to react dramatically whenever a Lakers defender gets within 3 feet of him. The numbers make the criticism even more interesting because Shai was averaging 13.2 free throws per game at the time, more than LeBron James and Austin Reeves combined during much of the series. In Game 3, the entire Lakers starting lineup had only 18 free throws combined, while Shai was repeatedly getting to the line. Shaq describes this style as anti-basketball because of what he believes is a clever tactic Shai has mastered. Shai can hook a defender's arm while driving, making it appear as though the defender is holding him when he is actually creating the contact himself. It has become one of the most effective ways to draw a foul, and Shaq believes the referees are no longer protecting the rules properly. Instead, he feels they are helping protect OKC's biggest stars. Things become even more controversial when rumors enter the picture, with claims that powerful figures connected to the betting world and the league are allegedly trying to increase OKC's chances. And Shaq is far from the only player frustrated by foul baiting. Jaylen Brown, who has no obvious reason to be bitter about the situation, also criticized the league for rewarding players who deliberately create contact during a post-game interview a few weeks earlier.
We give the benefit to those who, who necessarily are trying to manipulate the game into their advantage. I just don't think it's basketball. Like, let's just play basketball. All the foul baiting.
So, when a reigning superstar publicly claims that the league is playing a dirty game with officiating, it adds weight to everything Shaq was reportedly saying in that tunnel. But the numbers from the 2026 playoffs are where the situation becomes even more questionable. Shai's free throw rate has not simply increased, it has jumped by more than 22% compared with the regular season. Historically, that is unusual because playoff referees typically swallow the whistle and allow players to fight through contact. For Shai, however, the opposite seems to be happening. His free throw-to-drive ratio is reportedly the highest in NBA playoff history, even surpassing prime James Harden. And that is not even the most questionable part. According to data from games officiated by lead officials such as John Goble and James Capers, Shai's free throw rate is nearly twice the league average. It almost feels like there is a message before every game saying OKC is not supposed to lose. But this goes much deeper than Shai's offensive style. While Shai is drawing attention for his foul baiting, the Thunder have another player whose defensive approach has drawn even harsher criticism from Shaq. We are talking about someone who has earned a reputation as the NBA's Grim Reaper. The fact that officials were allegedly overlooking his physical style is reportedly why the Lakers decided to file a formal complaint with the league office. The officiating situation has become so controversial that the series is starting to feel like a scripted reality show where the Lakers were never expected to win. Then, on May 8th, Austin Reeves finally appeared to lose his patience. And you have to remember, Austin is usually one of the calmest players on the court and rarely goes looking for trouble.
Of last year's NBA Finals. And the Lakers wanted to spend a little extra time with the official.
He was seen arguing with crew chief John Goble in the middle of the court, and the exchange appeared far more intense than what viewers could see on the broadcast. Reeves was not simply upset about one missed foul. He appeared frustrated by what he felt was disrespect from the person responsible for keeping the game fair. According to alleged insiders, Austin pointed out what he believed was an obvious hack that everyone inside the arena had noticed, but Goble allegedly responded with a dismissive smirk instead of addressing the complaint. That moment reportedly convinced the Lakers front office that something needed to be done, leading them to request an emergency meeting with the league office the following morning. The Lakers are no longer simply asking for better officiating. They reportedly want answers about why a crew chief appeared comfortable dismissing the concerns of a professional player as though the rules did not matter. It is difficult to watch when the frustration reaches that level. And things became even more serious when J.J. Redick, usually one of the most calculated people in the room, walked into a press conference and essentially risked a $35,000 fine to speak his mind. Redick's post-game rant may have been the most expensive 30 seconds of his life, but it was worth it if his goal was to finally challenge the league over the officiating. He held nothing back, questioning why LeBron James could take heavy contact in the paint without getting calls while OKC players appeared to receive whistles from even minimal defensive contact.
This series, he gets fouled a lot. That doesn't happen. Guy gets hit on the head more than any player I've seen on drives, and it rarely gets called. So
JJ also pointed out that LeBron's whistle-to-contact ratio in the series was reportedly at a career low, which becomes difficult to understand when he is constantly driving into multiple OKC defenders and coming away with scratches across his arms. The NBA quickly fined Redick $35,000 following the press conference. Instead of ending the controversy, however, the fine made many fans believe that JJ had touched a nerve with the league office. They argue that he was not being punished simply for being wrong, but for openly exposing what they believe was happening behind the scenes. Even Kendrick Perkins addressed the issue on the Pat McAfee show on May 8th, publicly urging Adam Silver to protect the integrity of the series before the controversy became even bigger.
Sports betting. So we don't want to start messing and having fans thinking that there's something going on with the integrity of the game. So you got to clean up this flopping nonsense. You have to clean it up.
When Perk is the one sounding like the voice of reason, you know things have reached a new low. He talked about how the officiating makes it look as though the referees are working for the Thunder. But what really frustrates people is that the questionable officiating has not only helped OKC on offense. It has also allegedly allowed them to get away with dangerous plays on defense without serious consequences. There is a reason Reeves and Redick were so frustrated. While they are receiving technical fouls for minor defensive actions, the Thunder have a player who plays with an intensity that often looks more like a street fight. Shaq's reported tunnel outburst was not only about free throws. He was watching Lou Dort turn the court into a war zone while the officials appeared to look the other way. Once you examine the incidents involving Dort, you can understand why Shaq was reportedly ready to confront Shai in that tunnel. This goes beyond ordinary basketball. Dort has developed a reputation as one of the NBA's most physical defenders, but critics argue that his style sometimes crosses the line. If you watch some of his games from this season, you can see a player who is not simply trying to win the ball. He is constantly putting enormous pressure on opposing players. Shaq understands the difference between playing aggressively and playing recklessly, and he believes Dort has crossed that boundary repeatedly. Look at the March incident involving Nikola Jokic, which many believed deserved a serious suspension but quickly faded from the headlines. Dort committed a flagrant 2 that caused the Nuggets bench to react immediately. He did not appear focused on the ball and instead made heavy contact with Jokic's legs while the big man was turning. That looked far more serious than a normal basketball play. And according to critics, it was not an isolated incident. Back in February, Dort was involved in another play with Jokic that nearly caused the center to lose his balance badly. The officials were nearby, yet the reaction was minimal. Critics argue that if a Lakers player did the same thing to Shai, the punishment would be far more severe. But when it involves OKC, it is often described as physical defense. Then there was the April incident involving Devin Booker. Different game, same concern. Dort became tangled with Booker during a screen, leaving Booker struggling for the rest of the night. Critics see this as a pattern of making life extremely difficult for opposing stars while OKC benefits. Shaq's biggest issue with all of this is the hypocrisy. You cannot have a superstar who appears to exaggerate contact to draw fouls while another player is allowed to defend with extreme physicality. Shaq calls that a double standard, and that is the part that bothers him most. You cannot be overly physical on one end and then react as though every bit of contact is a major foul on the other. Critics believe the NBA is protecting the young OKC storyline because the league wants the team to succeed. Mark Daigneault is also accused by critics of using Dort's physical defense as a shield while the league looks the other way. Even fans were flooding social media late in 2025 during the Spurs game, claiming Dort was deliberately trying to undercut Victor Wembanyama. The Lakers reportedly included several of these incidents in their complaint to the league office because they believed they were entering an unfair battle. It creates a two-sided controversy that can make the game difficult to watch for anyone who remembers old-school basketball. But the bigger problem is how the league supposedly explains it by calling it the new era of physicality. Critics would argue that the most physical thing happening is how hard officials seem to be avoiding the whistle when OKC is involved. And Shaq's frustration is not simply coming from a retired superstar trying to stay relevant. He remembers what physical basketball actually looked like. During the 2000 finals, he averaged 38 points and 16 rebounds while taking enormous punishment in the paint. There are high-definition photos showing scratches and marks across his body that often went uncalled. The attitude back then was basically that if you were 7'1" and 325 pounds, contact came with the territory. You have to remember the Twin Towers era, when teams such as the Spurs and Blazers kept multiple big men whose primary job was to use their fouls against Shaq. These were not soft fouls where a defender barely touched an arm and a whistle followed. They were brutal, wrestling-style fouls designed to stop him from reaching the basket. That is where the famous hack-a-Shaq strategy came from. Shaq probably took thousands of hard fouls throughout his career, yet he rarely reacted by pretending he had been shot. He absorbed the contact, stayed focused, and often finished the play anyway. That is why Shaq reportedly considers foul baiting such a serious insult to the game. To him, winning because you are better at creating contact is completely different from dominating because you are physically stronger or more skilled. Even when teams had to create hack-a-Shaq strategies just to survive against him, it was because they could not stop him from scoring normally. It was not because he was hooking defenders or manipulating contact to earn calls. And then there is the attitude. An undisciplined Shaq sees some of these OKC players doing pre-game dances and acting as though they have already won multiple championships when they are still trying to establish themselves. That contrast between old-school discipline and modern pre-game showmanship is another reason he is so frustrated. He is especially critical of players like DeAndre Ayton because, in Shaq's view, Ayton should already be playing the role of the enforcer the Lakers need to shut down this type of basketball. Shaq feels like he has to defend the Lakers because he believes the current team is not doing enough for itself. He is acting like the older brother returning to the playground because his younger siblings are being pushed around and nobody is standing up for them. He is standing in that tunnel because if nobody else is willing to challenge the officials or confront Shai, Shaq feels he has to do it. But this is not only Shaq's opinion. The league may want everyone to believe that one retired player is simply complaining, but more current players and public figures are starting to question the direction of the game. And their comments are even more surprising. When Dillon Brooks, one of the league's most notorious defensive players, says teammates have to keep their hands up to avoid whistles, it shows how frustrated players have become with the current officiating. Brooks has criticized the way foul baiting has changed the game, arguing that some players are searching for contact instead of simply trying to make basketball plays.
There are a lot of foul baiters on that team, so we gotta show our hands. I hope it's the real playoffs.
And it is not only current players speaking out. Kendrick Perkins went on First Take and openly compared OKC to a pack of hyenas in the wild.
In the wild, right, the most annoying animal is the hyena, in my opinion. And this is not
everything. They want to bother everybody.
Yeah, and that's
looking to nibble.
Yep, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder.
He called them one of the most annoying teams in NBA history. Not because they are unbeatable, but because they constantly seem to search for easy points from the referees instead of earning them through physical play. Even rapper Lil Wayne could not stay silent. Weezy took to Twitter during the fourth quarter of Game 3 and told his millions of followers that watching OKC games was becoming difficult because of the officiating. When major names from the world of hip-hop are turning off the television because they are frustrated with the calls, the NBA has a serious problem. It creates the impression that the league is pushing this young OKC era as hard as possible, and instead of working, the strategy may be creating even more backlash. So, here is the real question. Are we watching a competitive sport, or are we watching a scripted drama where the outcome was already decided behind closed doors months ago? Shaq did not reportedly stand in that tunnel simply to show off. He was sending a message that, in his view, OKC's stars are receiving far too much help from the officials. If you are tired of the flopping, questionable calls and constant controversy, subscribe and join the conversation because we are keeping track of every major development surrounding this story. Do not let anyone convince you that every questionable moment is simply part of modern basketball. Comment below and share your opinion on whether the league needs to step back and let the players decide the games. This story may be far from over, and the next development could reveal even more about what has been happening behind the scenes.